Aloha, everyone. I am Kaya LaGuardia Yonamine. I'm your orientation leader for today's session, First Gen Friday. Before we get started, I'll be covering some housekeeping items for today's webinar. So first, you should be able to hear me clearly. If you cannot, please note that in the chat box so that we may troubleshoot with you. Simple fixes include connecting to your audio on the bottom left of your Zoom window, turning up your computer volume, or using external headphones. Second, please utilize the Q&A function if you have questions for the presenters or about what was shared. For most sessions, all questions will be saved for the end of the presentation. Additionally, participants in the chat are asked to be respectful of others and stay focused on the topic of this webinar so that those with questions can easily be seen. Finally, after the session, we will be uploading this recording of this webinar to the Visit Days platform in the video section. All recordings will have closed captioning. So now I would like to welcome and introduce today's presenters, Jen, Pagala, Barnett, and Bliss Ray. With that, I'll turn the presentation over to Jen.
Hi, thanks, Kaya. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our First Gen Friday session. Thanks for joining us this morning. So right off, we're just going to start with some really quick introductions. So my name is Jen Pagala Barnett. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Associate Director of our Student Equity, Excellence, and Diversity program here at University of Hawaii at Manoa. I believe that you'll be getting that presentation sometime next week. So just a little bit about me. I was born in the Philippines and I moved to California at the age of 5. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. Yay, if anyone's out there from San Francisco or the Bay Area. And I grew up in Vallejo, California. So I am a 1.5 generation immigrant and I'm a proud first gen student. So I'm the first in my family to complete a 4-year college degree. And I've lived in Hawaii for about 25 years. And received both my undergrad and graduate degrees here at the University of Hawaii in the field of social work. So welcome again, Bliss.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Bliss Ray. I am a graduate assistant with SEED, specifically the First Gen program. I am born and raised in Orange County, California, and I moved here almost 4 years ago for university. I just graduated with my bachelor's in ethnic studies and psychology last year, and I am currently about to start my master's in education administration at UHM as well. I'm also a first gen student, first in my family to earn a college degree, and I'm so excited to be here with everyone. So just to get started, we welcome you to this webinar. Here is a really quick overview of all the topics that we're going to be covering today. We will try to get through everything as quickly as possible so we leave enough time for questions at the end. I know that's important. All right. Let's see. Sorry, guys. Perfect. All right, Jen.
Oh, I think we may have skipped one slide, but that's okay.
Let me see. Sorry, there's a bit of a lag.
That's totally okay. It's an NSO slide. We can leave it here, Bliss. It's an NSO slide because, and I'm sure Leslie and Sabrina and Kaya have been going over those slides.
This one, yes. Okay, perfect. I will cover this really quick. So we just wanted to let you know, I know this is week 3 of orientation. You might have already been following along on the new Rainbow Warrior orientation website and attending all these sessions and webinars, but we also have this other resource available for you guys. They're online modules, completely free, and we have 2 ways to access them. So on the left-hand side is our YouTube archive. You can find it by just typing in UHM NRWO on YouTube, and then you can watch all the webinar or all the online modules there, or you can access them from the NSO website, the New Student Orientation website directly, and you can watch them there. And the contents range from administrators welcoming you to how to submit your health clearance, on-campus housing, transportation, parking, where to eat on the island, that's super good, and so much more. And I just wanted to point this out to you because I'm not going to go over these today, But since we're welcoming you and honoring you as first-gen students, these resources are available to you so you can build your community, get situated on campus, and build connections. All right.
Awesome. So we're gonna go into what it means to be a first-gen student. I know our slides are catching up to us, and that's okay. So what does it mean to be a first-gen student, right? So a first-generation college student is defined as a student whose parents, legal guardians have not completed a bachelor's degree. This means that you're the first person in your family to attend a four-year college or university to attain a bachelor's degree. So this is kind of like a general description or definition of first gen. And we know, or you may have heard from other institutions or other places that there are additional definitions, but we're just going to stick with this for now to sort of try and keep it as simple as possible. So I'll give you an example of me, right, as a first-gen college student. So my parents do have a little bit of higher education, but neither completed a four-year degree in the United States. So I still consider myself a first-gen student, right? Neither of them were able to help me in the whole sort of application, admissions process, helping me to transition to my life in college. And so I consider myself a first gen student. So just a couple of things to know is nationally around 20% of all incoming students at four-year universities are the first in their families to attend college. So there's a really big first gen community in a lot of our institutions. Let's see, if you are they able to use the chat? I'm sorry, I didn't ask that, Kaya. Are participants able? So if you are able, would you be able to just let us know in the chat or in the chat, if you are attending this session as a first gen student, or if your child is attending as a first gen student. Okay. Oh, awesome. Welcome.
Welcome.
Okay.
So
anyway, for first gen students, a huge congratulations, right, for getting accepted into our institution and being the first in your family to attend college. And we know it's really exciting. So welcome. The first thing we really want you to do is embrace being a first gen student. So know that you're unique and that you bring a unique perspective to our institution, and that we honor that, and we it's a big part of our institution. So embrace being a first gen college student. I always like to put this picture in. This is a student that used to work in our program. Her name is Noemi, and she's actually she came to us as a freshman. And so I always feel sad when our students graduate, because I feel like they're a part of our lives for at least 4 years. Naomi actually right now is in grad school in the School of Public Health, but this was a picture that we took together when she graduated for her undergrad. But she is one of our amazing and rising first gen students. So, embrace being a first gen student, and that it's really important. I know that the transition from high school to college is a big transition. It's really different. And to be the first in your family to navigate this can be really challenging, right? And exciting and overwhelming, kind of all at the same time for you and your family. So just know that we're really here to support you. Be proud and appreciate your background as a first gen student. Every first gen student has a story, and own that. It's really important. So even though sometimes it may feel really intimidating, like it did for me, I remember feeling really intimidated as a first-gen student on campus, know that you belong here, and know that we are so proud of you and we're honored that you chose us to be your institution. Okay, and because we're starting to build our first gen community, you know, just again, embrace being a first gen college student. Okay.
So a good tip for success is to make sure that you ask for help. It may take some courage to do so, but you will be so glad that you did. Make sure you see your academic advisor early on, just so they can set up your classes for you and put you on an academic plan that'll keep you on track to graduate. That is one thing I would not wait till the last minute to do, is see my academic advisor. They will definitely get you straight. And also make sure to form study groups with your peers in your classroom. One thing I always did is make sure to exchange contact information with students in my class, especially the ones that sat around me, so we can help each other get the class content, or we can even do Zoom meetings to study for exams and finals. And it's just great to have that support system with other peers that are going through the same things that you are. Also, don't be afraid to see your professors during office hours. Office hours mean that those are the hours that the professor is available to you guys. It's not for anything else, but they are there to help you. Even if you just go in and introduce yourself, it's a great way to start building a relationship with your professor, and that will set you up for the rest of your college career. Like my professors, once I started to build relationships with them, they were able to connect me with other students that shared the same passions and interests I was into. They also pointed me to clubs and volunteer opportunities that really enriched my experience. And they even ended up writing letters of recommendation for my study abroad application and for grad school. I definitely would not have been able to handle my grad school application without the support of my amazing professors that I got to know over the years. And lastly, make sure that you utilize your resources. UH has so many resources available for students that are already part of your fees, and they're there specifically for you guys to succeed and feel comfortable on campus and get really situated and enrich your experience. So make sure you utilize those. And in the next slide, we're going to cover a bunch of resources that you should definitely check out.
Okay, so these are some of the resources. I think it's important. I think I would have really enjoyed knowing about these resources as a first-gen student. So the first one is our Learning Assistance Center. It's located in Sinclair Library. And the Learning Assistance Center really kind of helps on working to get you organized, right? They help you to set some academic goals, and they give you some tips on how to study. So that's really important. I mean, I'm sort of like a calendar person where I have it on my phone, but I also write it out in the calendar. I have like a list of things to do next to the meetings that I have to attend that day. But it took me a long time to get organized like that, you know? And so please go to the Learning Assistance Center in the beginning, like to help get you going, right? So the Writing Center at Kuykendall is also another really great resource. And there are writing consultants that are trained to help at all the stages of your writing process. So whether you're brainstorming or revising a draft, or maybe somewhere in between, they can help you with your essays, research papers, resumes, letters, creative work, and even more. So I wish I knew also about the Writing Center, because writing is not my strength. And so if I think I had someone to be able to look over my writing and encourage me to, you know, write this way, or just guide me in some way, that would have been really helpful for me. The COCUA program is another really important resource to remember. So it's an office for our students with documented disability, and they're in the QLC building, which is also really important. Their staff is amazing. So if that is if that's a support that you need, please make sure to connect with them early. I always like to mention our Manoa Career Center, which is also in the QLC building, which is the picture that you see on the slide there. And it's central to sort of campus, the Queen Liliuokalani Student Services building. And you will, I'm sure you'll have to go there for one reason or another, during your academic career. But the Manoa Career Center is in that building, and they can really help you to find an on-campus or off-campus job. They have workshops, career counseling, resume building, and one cool thing that they do is they actually do mock interviews. So if you are applying for a job or you want to practice, these are, just practice with them, right? And they'll give you some amazing feedback, help you to get a job. It's also good to remember that getting jobs on campus helps students to really be successful. So if it's something that you're thinking about, go see the Manoa Career Center. And then SEED, which is also the program that Bliss and I are part of, our Student Equity, Excellence, and Diversity program. And it's actually where you can find the other leaders on this call too. But we have programs that are called like Gear Up, the HUI program, the Health Careers Opportunity programs. We have the Graduate Professional Access program. We have the Women's Center. We have an LGBTQ plus center. So actually we have over 20 programs. And we're also another support service for you to help you through your college career. Even if you have a question, come see us at the SEED office, or make an appointment with one of us. I know it's, in-person things are kind of on hold. So these are just really important resources. I put August 13th there, and I might be lying, NSO crew, I'm sorry, but I thought that was when SEED was doing their presentation. So, okay, great. The next thing we really wanted to address with you all was to think about making tough financial decisions. So this was really important to me as a first-gen student and my family. And so I thought it was important for us to address. And we just want to really encourage you to be proactive about your financial assistance. Go and meet with a financial aid counselor, in the beginning of the semester, or try and connect with someone now. So for some of our first gen students, your financial assistance doesn't just affect you, right? But it affects your family. So for example, sometimes, while I was attending college, the amount of aid that I received or the amount of support that I received affected and impacted how much my parents worked, right? Because they were fully supporting me. And so, so just know that, this is something that's really important. I think that if you can, go and see someone right away. So also don't forget to ask about scholarships. Scholarships is a really big deal. And there are some scholarships that might be very specific to your particular needs as a first-gen student. So, so ask them about scholarships. And just know that in general, our financial aid office closes a little bit early. So once they open on campus, I forget what time they close, but I think it may be 3, right, Bliss, somewhere around that time. But yeah, just know early. That if you're coming to the financial aid office, you might want to check if they're still open, or make sure about their office hours, because I know financial aid is an important resource on campus. So if you're coming just to see them, I want you to, make sure that you're coming in a time that they're open and where they can help you, or connect with them online. So, okay.
All right. So decide who your network of support will be. So having a network of support is so crucial, especially when you're new to college. It's a completely new world, and it's good to have those conversations early on with friends and family to start building that kind of network. So for example, like it's 11:30 p.m. and you're stressed about an assignment that's due at midnight. Like, who are you going to go to get some advice or get some guidance? You don't want to go to someone that's going to stress you out more or make you more anxious. So it's good to recognize who is in your family and friends that have that kind of support that you need. So be sure to identify what kind of support you're going to need and who you're going to need it from, because that is going to be crucial to help you throughout college. Things will happen that you might not have control over. So make sure you lean on your support, and then they can lean on you as well.
Great. Bliss, I'm going to see if you can back up just a couple of
Sure.
slides.
Let's see.
There
Ooh,
we go.
yes.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. It's okay. So one of the things we also want you to remember is to balance your multiple responsibilities. So as you transfer into college or transition into your college life, we know that college life isn't just about attending classes, right? Before this, you were probably involved in different kinds of co-curricular activities. And at UH, we have opportunities for you to join tons of different clubs, RIOs, join in events, work, all different kinds of things, right? You see some things labeled there, all while navigating things like new friendships or just meeting new people. So I remember that I got really homesick, when I first started college, and it was important for me to connect with family and friends. So you also might want to consider that and thinking about how you're going to communicate the expectations to your family and friends about each other, right? Now that you're a college student, as you get more comfortable and involved with the campus and the community here, it's important to share, like with people, like Bliss was talking about, the people in your network, what's going on, and that you're taking time to formulate some of those really important connections while you're here. My parents were always like, Jen, what are you doing? How come we haven't heard from you in a week? Or what? Now it's 2 weeks. What's going on? And as as I got more and more responsibilities, I met more friends, I started doing more activities, the communication wasn't as often, right? So just be sure that you're communicating that with your family or people that you care about, just so that there's a clear expectation, right? And not that you're cutting ties, but that you're transitioning in life and you're might be in a different space and place, and it's okay. But for family, like my family my parents who had not gone to college, didn't know about these expectations, right? And it's experiences that they didn't have, so they had trouble understanding that. So we just encourage you to keep an open communication with your family. So as you move forward in your academic journey, you might even do things like internships or other things that may keep you away from home. So just a reminder just to keep those conversations and those open lines of communication open.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we wanted to share this with you because our first gen initiatives on campus, they're growing. Like I said, the people that you see here on the webinar are first gen. And again, we want to build our proud first gen community. This is an event that we held last year, and it was called Building and Connecting Our First Gen Community. And because we weren't on campus, we had to do it virtually, right? But every year, actually, the first gen community nationwide on different colleges have a first generation college celebration. So we did ours in November 16th through the 20th. We're planning on having one again this year, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. So we just sent out an email asking folks to be part of this initiative, and we asked them to send us stories and pictures about their first gen stories. So I just wanted to share with you some of the responses that we got. Go ahead, Bliss. So we got like so many responses. It was so exciting. And again, this was like the first thing we did as a first gen community, and the response was great. So I want you to see, because these are some of the folks that we featured. And what you'll see is that there are students, there's faculty, there's staff, there's, you know, people from all over, like Chris is from housing, but Chris Lucas is one of our professors in the education administration program in the College of Education. Nick Childs is an employee, and he works with one of our talent search programs, but he works out in the Nanakuli schools, Nanakuli High School and Waianae High School. So we don't often see him on campus, but when he saw, you know, our call for first gen, he said, whoa, I'm first gen too, right? Not only is Nick first gen, but he's also an immigrant. And so his story was really great to share. And then Bliss, if you could, so we had like all of these people come out and share, right? So you'll see some students, Kenny, who's also a housing employee, Max, who is our registrar, is a first gen student. All of these other students, you know, came out and said, can I also be a part of this initiative? Go ahead, Bliss. So it was just great to see how many people came out. And again, this was around building our community. We want you to know that there's students and faculty and staff and all kinds of folks on the campus that are first gen and have similar experiences or might have similar ways to, or have ways in which they want to support you. Okay. One of the stories we featured was Robie. Some of us on this webinar also know Robie. Bliss, can you go back one? That's okay. That's okay. So Bliss, so Robie is one of our yeah, we're going.
Let's go back.
There we go. So Robie is one of our first gen students, and he's he's now actually a graduate student with Bliss. So he also did his undergraduate degree in ethnic studies, and he is from Stockton, California. But what we also did when we asked for the feature of these first gen community members was for them to share their story. So the feature not just included their picture, but a couple of pages of their stories around what kind of advice they would give a first gen student or resources that they felt were really important to them. Go ahead, Bliss, you can share. And then, you know, family members and their sort of network of support that was important to them, right? So just, we can keep going. So Noemi, actually, we saw her in a picture earlier, right, at her graduation. And she's from the Mariana Islands, and she's still here and working now, and a grad student. So yeah, and this is her pictures with her parents, and she's a beach girl too, so she loves that. But her sharing her story was really important, right? So one of the things that she always talked about was her parents being her heroes and understanding the sacrifices that they made for her to attend college. So it was also a good way to honor people that made a difference in our first gen communities' lives. So, okay.
All right. So this is a small intro of our first gen faculty and staff that we have on campus. We have Kenny Lopez, you may have seen him earlier, from housing. Mahealani Quirk, Graduate Professional Access Director, Dr. Christine Kemuel, the Vice Chancellor for SEED, and we also have more, Dr. Sabrina, we have Ed Lee, Girab, Janelle Fontanilla from Girab, and they're all from different offices you may see, but they are all first-gen students and they all have unique experiences and wanted to be identified as a resource to you guys and to let you know that you can do this, that college is possible, that you have so much support around you and you can succeed pretty much. And I believe we have reached the end of our presentation. So do we have any questions?
There are so many questions. We will go through them all. Thank you to our participants for using the Q&A box. So if you have any more questions, please continue to use the Q&A box. Enter in them. We will get to all the questions because we have plenty of time to get to all of them. So the first question is, as a first-gen student, what was your biggest challenge?
Ooh, first-gen student. I think for me personally, sorry, Jen, can I go first?
Mhm.
Okay, great. So for me personally, my biggest challenge was me coming from a different state to an island where I really didn't know anybody, and I'm starting university for the first time. So for me, it was building that support network that was kind of difficult in the beginning. But I found out that the more I put myself out there and spoke to professors and staff and faculty, especially in the QLC building, I went to the Women's Center and I got to know people on campus and just shared about myself and my experience. And I was able to build friendships through employment on campus, my professors and students in my classes. So I think the biggest issue was finding a way to build those connections early on. But once I did, that was what really helped me to succeed in my college experience. Yeah.
So I think for me, I was actually a transfer student, right? So I came from California to Hawaii. I transferred from a community college. And I think the biggest challenge for me was that I went to classes and went home. Right. So I didn't make a connection to the college and the college community. And now that I work here on the college, I just was like, there are so many things that I could have done, right, to make use of my time here. And it was great, except that now that I'm just aware of all the resources that we have, that I wish I had used them. Because I think I just would have learned so much more, right? We all know that life in college is not just about the academic piece, but about, building connections and networking, those kinds of things. So I think in the beginning, it was hard for me to make those connections. And it wasn't until I got into my actual social work program did I start really hanging out on the campus a little bit more and start trying to, put myself out there a little bit more. So that was the most challenging for me.
And related to that, as far as first generation students at UH, so this generation, no offense, Jen, we're a little younger with students coming in now. Bliss, probably more closer to you, but with this new generation of students coming in, first generation students, but also throwing in the idea of, we're in Hawaii, so you have these other things that happen, right? What would you say is one of the biggest challenges you've seen with first generation students at UH?
So I can start, Bliss, and then you can maybe add on. So just through some of the experiences that I've had, that I know a lot of our first gen students are immigrants. Not all, not all of them, and that's not always the case, right? But a lot of them are immigrants. And so their parents or their family members have a hard time understanding what's happening. Right. So, I had mentioned it earlier about being able to communicate with your family about what's happening. But sometimes a family has no idea about what is a FAFSA, right? Or what is, we use so many acronyms in higher ed that, people get lost. And so I think that's a challenge where things not only get lost in translation because of maybe language barriers, but that there's just no understanding of what college life and college expectations are, from our families. So I think sometimes our first gen students feel caught in the middle somehow. and again, there are people on campus to support you. You saw all of those first gen faculty, students, and staff that were part of our celebration that can help you through those kinds of transitions, or even conversations, help to give you some language on how you can, what you can say to your parents, right, when you're asking for certain things that you might need for college.
That's a good point, Jen. You're right. I have noticed a lot of first-gen students that I personally know, English may not be their first language. So doing assignments and knowing what exactly is expected of them, sometimes professors may assume everyone just knows programs and acronyms and that they can just assign something and the students will just get it and get it done. But I find that they might not know the nuances of how to submit an assignment or how much writing is required or what specifically to focus on. So I find that if they form a peer group and really lean on their classmates and just have them help them a little bit, or even go to the resources that we recommended earlier, like the writing center and whatnot, really helps students to know, like, oh, okay, this is what I'm supposed to write. Oh, I'm supposed to use this program for editing and whatnot, like the little things about academics that may be assumed but aren't really known to everybody, which is normal. So yeah, I think that would be a big one. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's see, a couple questions regarding parents. So let's tackle those together. So one of them is, how do I support my parents through this transition as they begin college and onward?
So we spoke a little bit about this, and I'll just share a little bit of my personal story. And y'all, I'm old, right? So this was I'm going back. But when I left for college, my mom was so distraught, y'all, because she just was like, she felt like I was leaving her, and I'm like, no, Mom, I'm like, so I think part of it was that, again, communication, right? Like just letting them know what's going on, what's happening. I remember that when my mom came to visit and saw what my life was like, that it made her feel so much better, and some parents can't do that, right? Because we're on an island, we're far away or whatever it is, but now you can FaceTime, you can do whatever. So I think, like, if I needed to FaceTime back then, that I probably would, just to say, look, Mom, this is what I'm doing. This is where I live. This is, look, this is a friend. Let me introduce you to a friend. Or this is like, so those things I think are really helpful, just for your parents to understand what your life is like, right? And what college is like, because they didn't go through it, so I think that's one thing. I think, I had another thought and I just lost it. So Bliss, go ahead. If there's something
I can share, and if it comes back, just let me know.
Yes.
So yeah, I think I worked at the Student Life and Development office, and I worked for new student orientation. So I was fielding a lot of calls from parents that were worried about their kids, how they're adjusting, what they needed and whatnot. And I noticed the big thing is that they're just worried about the little things that are going on in their kid's life on this new campus, in this new place. So I had a parent that was like, is he gonna know how to use the laundry and the washer dryer? Like, I don't know, I'm worried about him. Like, it's a different system, right? And it's like, I think it's just good to let them know, like Jen said, like, everything's fine. We have a washer and dryer in our building or whatnot, but they just want to know that you can survive, that you have food, that you have resources available, that you're not going to just die without them. But yeah, basically the parents that I've noticed just want to know that you are making friends, that you have places to get food, that your housing is safe, and you are situated pretty much. If it gets to like the nitty gritty, like assignments and whatnot, or like internship opportunities. It's just good to fill them in every once in a while of what's happening in your life or any major changes or new positions that you take on, because they can also support you too if it gets stressful later on. But yeah, just have communication with your parents. Let them know that you're doing okay. You don't have to tell them every day what's going on in your life, but just the basics, and then they can rest easy knowing that you're doing just fine. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I remembered. So like Bliss said, you don't have to tell them, you know, I don't have to call every day or tell them absolutely everything that you're doing, because you may not want to share everything, right? But I think it's important to be open, and it's okay to be honest. It's okay to be honest with your parents and with your family. It took me a while to transition, right? And in my head, what I thought the expectation from my mom is that I was going to be okay all the time, doing great all the time, right? But that's not realistic, right? The truth was sometimes where it was like, I was really homesick and I really wanted her to send me a ticket if she could, you know, or that like I was struggling in a class, you know, and that those things are okay too to share. It's not that you're failing or, you know, or if you're needing extra assistance, right, that it's okay to share those kinds of things and say, you know, I'm going to go get some help, or I'm going to find resources, you know, to help me. But yeah.
That's great.
Right. And the other question we have is, we have a participant who helps their parents take care of their grandma. Do you have any suggestions on how to be successful in that environment? Maybe some resources they might use, or how to manage that?
Mm-hmm. Caregiving is a hard job, you know, so I totally respect you, give you props for that. I think again, like it's important to share like your schedule maybe with your parents, so that you all know like, okay, who's going to be able to help me at this time, or who's going to help take care of grandma on this day, those kinds of things. I think just being realistic about the expectations. And I think knowing that it's also okay to take breaks if you need to, you know, like or find other ways to help you and your parents find respite. Because it's tough, right? Now you're a college student, and now, you know, this is a huge responsibility to help the family with this, right? Helping grandma and caregiving. It's just huge, and it takes a lot out of you. So if there are ways that you all can find respite or ways that other people can help, that would be great. But again, just being clear about the expectations and making sure your schedules are aligned, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's super important. I think that's a good tip, is making sure you have a set schedule with your parents, so there are no gaps and no one's like freaked out because no one's watching grandma. But also, I think it's important to be able to schedule in some time for yourself, because that's a lot to put on someone to be able to take care of their family and this whole new responsibility of university. So scheduling breaks, or like you could even go to the library for like an hour and just like breathe, focus on you, get your work done, and then get back into your schedule. Also, there's the counseling center in Seed that they're a great resource if you just need someone to vent to, which is totally natural and normal, someone to talk to. I think they're a great resource. It's already in your student fees, so you can just go and make an appointment with them and talk to them too. And they can even help you like sort out what your schedule can look like, or ways to take care of yourself too, which is also super important. Make sure that you're doing okay. But yeah. It's a balancing act.
Yeah, and then I just just another suggestion would be, I think that it's okay if you share this with your academic advisor, right? Because as you're planning out your classes and your semesters and how you're going to get to graduation and all this, it's important for them to know what your responsibilities are in your personal life, so that you don't overload yourself with, like, say, taking 3 difficult classes all at once in one semester. If you know that you can't handle that, or that you won't have as much study time because you'll need to help with grandma or those kinds of things. So maybe working with your advisor on making sure that your schedule is one that you can manage.
That's a good tip. I remember my advisor was really good about that too. If she knew I was going to have a really tough or busy semester, then she would say, oh, this class, just so you know, is really hard. There's a lot of writing. Maybe we can leave that for the next semester where you have more time. So the advisors are really there for you, and they know about the classes and the professors, what's expected. So they can definitely help you to build your schedule in a way that you can manage and handle. Yeah.
That's a great transition, Bliss. Actually, one of our questions, it says that they have to work full time, so they don't know if they're able to graduate in 4 years, and ask me if that's okay, or if they should just do school part time. So that really builds off what you were just talking about as far as manage your schedule or things like that. Do you have any recommendations for this participant?
I think it would be good to realistically know what you can handle. Like, can you do 3 classes while you work full time? Have you tried that before? And it's totally okay if you can't do it. It might take longer, but at least you'll be able to be sane throughout it all, and be able to manage your classes and not fail them and have to redo them. So I know it's tough. Like, students have to work, they have responsibilities, but I think that's also good to talk with your academic advisor, let them know that you have this job that is a priority right now, but you still want to take classes, and just build your schedule that way. And it depends on your major as well, like what classes are required of you and how difficult or heavy they might be. So I would just work with them and know your limits. I know, like, me personally, when I was in community college, because I'm a transfer student as well, I had worked 2 jobs and I was going to school, and it was way too much. Like, I thought I could do it, but it ended up being more stressful than it needed to be. So I think it's okay to realistically know your limits and take less classes if you need to. That way you can be more engaged and absorb the material and actually enjoy it, I would say.
Yeah, it's absolutely okay not to finish in 4 years.
Yeah.
A lot of students don't. I mean, I almost feel like it's more realistic not to expect to always finish in 4. That's the goal, right? But it's absolutely okay not to finish in 4. I won't tell you how long it took me. So
me too.
the only thing to remember, though, is just to think about the financial assistance that you're going to get, right? Because the longer that you spend in college, the more expensive it is, right? And so if you're able to space out your classes more, if you can take a class, in the summer, so you don't have to take, a full load during the normal semesters, those are just things to consider as you're trying to manage working full-time and being a full-time student. It's difficult. So make sure you're caring for yourself and really paying attention to how you're able to manage your own stress and your like if your grades are starting to go down, or if you're just feeling more and more tired, or if you notice things that are that you're not well, right, that you need to reconsider the load that you've taken. So just be mindful about that, and you'll get through it. It's okay. Like, you will get through college. So
There's a great question in here about on-campus employment. I'm just going to answer since it is something we've talked about a lot. So
Sure.
on-campus employment is open. It's through a website called SECE, SECE, and it's managed by our Manoa Career Services office. So if you go into the Manoa Career Services website, or if you just type in SECE into the search field on the main Manoa website, it'll take you right there. So you're looking at any jobs that are available, and you might want to sort them based on, what your interests are, where you want to work, and things like that. Now, there's a specific question about position, and I'm not going to say it because I don't want this person's job to go away. Maybe if I say it, all these people will go apply for it. But I will say that might be an issue. So if you're looking for this job and it says, oh, you're not qualified because of X, and you know that you are qualified, because that's not correct. Maybe it says, oh, you have to be an English I don't know, you have to be an English major, but you are an English major, so maybe something is wrong in the system. I would call that office or email that office, because there might be a glitch in the system, and because of that, it might be reading your profile incorrectly. So this particular student said that this job says you have to be a full-time student, and they are a full-time student, and so there just could be an issue in the system. And just remembering that a full-time student is 12 hours or more as a undergraduate student, and 9 hours or more as a graduate student. So as long as you are above that limit, it could just be an error in the system, and you should go and contact that job provider, and they will see how they can help you on that. Okay. Okay, so there's two good conclusion questions that I'm going to lead with. The first one is fun. How can they get a t-shirt? Are there any first gen t-shirts?
Yes.
Or
I have a lot of first gen t-shirts, and I would love to pass them along to you. If you're interested, please connect with me. And we are still highlighting stories. So if you're willing to share your first gen story with us, you get a free t-shirt.
Perfect.
So just connect with me on that. Yep.
Okay. Is the seat office open, Jen? Can they come by the seat office or no?
I would, if you can even put my email in the chat, Leslie, I would connect with me first, because we are open. When school starts, we are going to be open, but it's preferred to make an appointment with us. So just to be sure that there's not so many of us coming into the office all at once, trying to be mindful of safety.
Sure. Okay, perfect. And the last question we are going to end with is, what is one takeaway that you would like people to learn from this session?
I guess for me, a big takeaway is to embrace being a first gen student. You have so much to offer. You absolutely belong here. You will definitely succeed. Like, believe in yourself. There are so many resources available to help you succeed. So I think just to know that you are not alone, and there is so much support available to you. And yeah, just have fun with it.
Same. I think, I didn't know that I was a first gen student. Right. And so, and now that I know that there's a community of first geners out there, it helps, and so, like we mentioned earlier, that just know that as a first gen student, that you really bring some unique aspects of yourself to this institution, and we're grateful that you're here. So be proud of being a first gen student, and it's okay, and it's okay to be a little uncomfortable. I'm encouraging you to put yourself out there, connect with people, do things maybe that you're not used to doing. This is a fresh new start. You're on a new campus. And so, just get out there and make the best of college. It's an opportunity that not everyone gets. So,
Thank you.
True that.
Thank you both. And we are all out of questions. So I will turn it over to our orientation leader, Kaya, for our closing.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today for this presentation. We hope that you gained some helpful information from Jen and Bliss. If you have further questions or questions that maybe weren't discussed, please email your orientation leader or OL or nrwo@hawaii.edu. You can also email Jen and Bliss right here for assistance. As mentioned, this webinar will be published on the NSO Visit Days platform, so please visit that page for the recordings, as well as links or documents mentioned by today's guests. There's also other important webinars there also, so try to catch those too. Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Thanks, everyone.